Picture this. You're a camel herder crossing the vast Gobi Desert when suddenly the sand beneath your feet starts to shift. Something's moving down there, something big, something deadly. The locals have a name for it, the Olgoi Kokoi, the Mongolian death worm. And if the stories are true, just seeing one could be the last thing you ever do. But here's the question that's been haunting explorers for over a century. Is this creature real, or is it the world's most persistent desert legend? Today, we're diving deep into one of cryptozoology's most terrifying mysteries. Stick around, because what we uncover might just change everything you thought you knew about what's lurking beneath the world's most unforgiving landscapes. The Gobi Desert, 1.3 million square kilometres of some of the harshest terrain on Earth. Temperatures that swing from -40 to +38 degrees Celsius. A place so remote and brutal that it's remained largely unchanged for millions of years. And according to Mongolian folklore, it's home to something that shouldn't exist. But before I tell you exactly what makes this creature so terrifying, let me ask you this. What would you do if you encountered something that could kill you 3 different ways without even touching you? The Mongolian death worm isn't just any cryptid. We're talking about a creature described as a thick, blood-red, segmented worm up to 6 feet long. Think of a massive intestine with an attitude problem. But size, that's just the beginning. According to local accounts, this thing has spike-like projections at both ends, rows of razor-sharp teeth, and get this, it can spit corrosive venom that kills instantly. Oh, and if the acid spit doesn't get you, it can electrocute you from a distance. Sounds like something straight out of a nightmare, right? But here's where it gets interesting. For generations, this was Mongolia's best-kept secret. Herders would whisper stories around campfires, warning each other about the creature that emerges after heavy rains. They called it Olgoi Kokoi, literally large intestine worm, and the description was always eerily consistent. But everything changed in 1926 when American paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews published his book On the Trail of Ancient Man. Now, Andrews himself never claimed to see the creature, but he did something that would change everything. He shared the stories he'd heard from Mongolian officials. And one particular account would send chills down your spine. A former Mongolian prime minister described it like this. It is shaped like a sausage about 2 feet long, has no head nor leg, and it is so poisonous that merely to touch it means instant death. But here's what's really fascinating, and we'll come back to this later. Not a single person Andrews interviewed had actually seen the creature themselves. They all firmly believed in its existence, but were sharing second-hand stories. So how does a desert legend become a global obsession? Well, once word reached the West, something incredible happened. The stories were too compelling to ignore. Starting in the late 1980s, expeditions began pouring into the Gobi Desert. We're talking serious expeditions, scientists, cryptozoologists, adventurers with serious funding. Czech cryptozoologist Ivan Merkel led multiple expeditions in the early 90s. This guy wasn't messing around. He brought vibration-generating devices inspired by the sci-fi novel Dune. You know, the thumpers that attract sandworms. He even used small explosive devices to try to lure the creature from underground. The results? Absolutely nothing. But that's not the most interesting part of his story. In 2005, the UK-based Centre for Fortean Zoology sent a team led by zoologist Richard Freeman. Professional scientists with proper equipment interviewing eyewitnesses, following up on alleged sightings, empty-handed. 2009. New Zealand reporter David Farrier tried his luck. Still nothing. But here's what's really wild, and this might explain everything. In 1983, something happened that should have ended the mystery forever. Researchers showed locals a Tartar sand boa, a real snake species native to the region. Non-venomous, burrows underground, reddish-brown colour. The locals who claim to have seen the death worm, they positively identified the sand boa as the same creature. Case closed, right? Not so fast, because there's something the scientists couldn't explain. Something that makes this whole story much more complex than a simple case of mistaken identity. You see, the sand boa can't do any of the things that make the death worm legendary. No electric shock, no corrosive venom, no deadly acid spit. So where did these specific, consistent details come from? And there's another problem. Every other cryptid, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, even the chupacabra, they leave evidence. Footprints, blurry photos, hair samples. The Gobi Desert, with its dry climate, would actually preserve animal remains incredibly well. So where are the bodies? Let's talk about what science tells us. Benjamin Radford, writing for Live Science, points out something crucial. If these creatures existed, there would need to be a breeding population. Not just one death worm, but hundreds or thousands. In an environment that preserves organic matter, in a region where locals know about the global interest and the rewards offered for evidence, wouldn't something have turned up by now? But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Remember that Swedish PhD student Orjan, working on snow leopard research in Mongolia? In 2010, 3 Mongolians working for National Geographic came to his camp, searching for death worm information. And Orjan discovered something fascinating. There was actually a living witness. My friend Oyuna's mother claimed she saw one when she was young, but her description added new details that make the whole mystery even stranger. According to Oyuna's mother, the death worm she saw was 40 to 80 centimetres long, brownish coloured, with both head and tail resembling a big hole lined with big fangs, making the worm look like a pipe, with teeth. But get this, she also said that when angry, it changes colour to red or blue. And if it gets really angry, it screams like roaring thunder and then explodes, spreading poison through the air. Now, this sounds completely fantastical, but it raises a crucial question. Are we dealing with one legend that's evolved over time, or multiple creatures that have been combined into a single myth? And here's something that'll blow your mind. The Gobi Desert has been home to some of the most significant paleontological discoveries in history. We're talking about a region where dinosaur fossils are regularly uncovered, where the geological history spans millions of years. Could there be something we haven't discovered yet? But maybe we're approaching this all wrong. Maybe the question isn't, is the death worm real? But why does this legend persist? The death worm isn't just a monster story in Mongolian culture, it's a symbol. It represents the harsh, unforgiving nature of the Gobi Desert itself. It embodies the dangers that nomadic peoples face in one of Earth's most challenging environments. Think about it. In a landscape where extreme temperatures, sandstorms, and isolation can kill you, the death worm becomes a way to personify all those dangers into a single, comprehensible threat. But there's one more twist to this story that might explain everything. Several theories have emerged about what people might actually be seeing. The worm lizard theory is compelling. These are real creatures that look remarkably worm-like, burrow underground, and can grow several feet long. Some venomous snakes can spit poison, though not the metal-corroding acid described in legends. Electric fish exist, though no terrestrial animals can generate lethal electrical discharges. But here's the thing, folklore often exaggerates real experiences. A dangerous encounter with a real animal gets retold, embellished, combined with other stories, until it becomes something legendary. The sand boa identification in 1983 might have solved part of the puzzle, but legends take on lives of their own. Today, modern cryptozoologists are using new technology, camera traps, DNA testing, seismic sensors. They're applying cutting-edge science to age-old mysteries. And who knows, maybe next week, next month, or next year, someone will discover something in the Gobi's remote dunes that changes everything we think we know. But until that happens, the Mongolian death worm remains what it's always been. A reminder that our planet still holds secrets, that even in our age of satellites and global connectivity, there are still places mysterious enough, remote enough, harsh enough to hide the unknown. Whether the death worm is a real creature, a case of mistaken identity, or a powerful piece of cultural folklore, it represents something important: our fascination with the unknown, our respect for nature's power, and our understanding that the world still has mysteries left to solve. The next time you look at a map and see those vast, empty spaces, the deserts, the deep forests, the mountain ranges, remember that legends persist for a reason. Sometimes they're trying to tell us something true, even if it's not the truth we expect. So what do you think? Ancient creature lurking in the sands, or desert legend that's taken on a life of its own? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to explore more mysterious creatures from around the world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, we're just getting started on this journey into the unknown.